Is this the commie future you want for yourselves?
Yes. Nobody drives in LA.
Now that we've all had a few days to sit with the results of the most recent election, the successes that mobility and progressives had at the local level, and the disappointment many of us are feeling at the turn of national events, brings up for me, and as I've heard from many of my friends, citing my pal Leah and her Voices on the Side podcast, where they talked about this at length, regardless of the outcome of a national election, our work as activists is not over. We don't get a free pass to take 4 years off when Democrats win. The same environmental, workers' rights, inclusivity issues that folks are organizing for, we'd have to organize just as hard under Democrats as we would under Republicans. There is no free pass to get out of doing the work. And with that, we're going to set our time machine back to the second ever interview that Eric and I recorded with special guest and car-free reporter, Maylin Tu. Maylin is a car-free freelance reporter who lives in Palms and comes up with many of her story ideas while cycling in Los Angeles. Maylin grew up in Maine and was introduced to car-free living in Beijing. She discusses the underappreciated joy of being car-free, managing safety concerns, and dreaming of creating the ultimate multi-modal journey across LA. We have a link to Maylin's latest article for Afro LA, which is all about the gated public streets on Van Ness Avenue and Country Club Park. We'd also like to mention that we recorded this interview at the LA Public Library's Pio Pico Media Lab in Koreatown. Here we go. Welcome to Nobody Drives in LA, a car-free Los Angeles podcast. This is our second episode we're recording, still in the piloting phase of the show. Here we want to talk about how you can get around LA without a car. Cars are the worst. I'm Kyle Rebar. I'm the editor of the podcast. I do sustainability on commercials. I do a lot of editing work. I recently did a trash photography show at Surfrider LA's Earth Day event at their lab. I take photos of trash in nature, and I covered their lab's wall and prints of those. Speaking of prints, we're recording this episode at the Koreatown LA Public Library's Media Lab. We did our last episode at the Octavia Lab. It's a free resource if you have a library card, so I highly recommend anyone checking this stuff out. And while we're doing this, I have another trash print that we were printing out at the library's Media Lab. It is of a sandwich on a park bench. And our co-host, who's the brains of the operation.
Don't say that. Hi, I'm Eric Brightwell, and I'm the co-host of this show, and I'm the one that doesn't have the brains to do the editing or any of that stuff. So I just also want to give a shout out because as a car-free podcast, you know, we rely a lot on we love the public stuff here. Don't we love the public? We do. And so we love public libraries and public parks and public buses and trains and streets and everything. So just shout out to these amazing labs. I'm not sure why more podcasts aren't recorded in them.
That's kind of okay, though, because we get...
Yeah, I know.
We can hog them?
It's a little bit like the bus because people that hate the bus always say, I saw a bus go by and there was only one person on it. And I thought, no one that rides the bus is ever like, there aren't enough people on this bus. This is stupid. I wish it were full. I want to be a sardine in here, you know? So, yeah, we want to keep it to ourselves a little bit,
But also record your podcast here. It's an amazing public service.
Yeah, and then we should have Maylin introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Maylin Tu. I am a freelance reporter here in LA, and I don't own a car, which is why I think I'm here.
Yeah. So I'll just jump right in and say, I believe the first time that Maylin and I were in contact was when it was on Earth Day a couple years ago. You DM'd me on Twitter about some story idea that you had. But when I got that text, I was riding a Metrolink train from Riverside Station to Santa Ana Station because I have come up with this loop Metrolink is free, like most transit agencies, but Metrolink you kind of don't expect to be because it's commuter rail / regional rail. And so it's not like $1.50 like Metro normally, unless I guess maybe if you're going one stop or something. But I made this loop where I was going to 4 county seats in one day for free. So I rode out from Union Station to San Bernardino Station to Riverside Station to Santa Ana Station back to Union Station. Most of the train lines go in and out of Union Station. So you could go, to the Antelope Valley, but then you'd have to come back. And then you go down to like Oceanside. And I was like, no, I'm going to try to do a loop. So that was why I did that. And then I got a message from Maylin about some story ideas. So that's what got you on my radar.
So, Maylin, tell us a little bit about, like, as a freelance reporter, I don't actually know how reporters do what they do. I know reporters must collect information somewhere and somehow, but so what do you do and how do you do it?
Great question. I mean, I do interview people a lot on the phone or over Google Meet or Zoom and stuff like that. But really, I really like biking. So I like biking different places, or if I need to go further, I'll take the train or I'll take the bus, that kind of thing. But sometimes you get stories because you are on your bike, like you're biking past something and maybe you notice something.
Yeah, I mean, I do a little bit of writing about stuff to be eloquent about it. And you definitely notice, I feel like you definitely notice more when you're riding the bus or walking or cycling. I feel like I notice a little bit less than just walking because I have to be aware of terrible drivers at all times, So I'll just like when I was writing about, because I write about exploring neighborhoods. Some people that are listening probably know that. But I was writing about Little Bangladesh, and I remember I rode my bike over there, and I rode down 3rd Street, and I was like, I didn't see anything Bangladeshi on my bike. And then I got off my bike, turned around, and walked, and was like, oh, look, there's this market in this place. And I had this whole experience where these people invited me into, they were like, what are you doing? And I told them I'm writing about Little Bangladesh. And they're like, well, you got to interview these 4 people right here that are hanging out in this restaurant, and then went into these markets and stuff. So, the more out of your car you are, the more in tuned you are to what, I mean, I always say, like, no, you can't really know your city if you only know it from a car. And the exception is Jonathan Gold, but you have to be really committed to like driving your pickup truck to every single restaurant. And then you can still know the city and be born here and raised here and die here. So
I think cars too are sort of black holes. I used to work for a fine art education website, and I was filming with a painter in the wilds, maybe like an hour and a half away from Duluth, like in Minnesota, no paved roads, just like the most remote place ever. And I'm driving up to, this little cabin where I'm filming with this watercolor artist. And I saw, and, I photographed trash, and I'm driving, and I saw this plastic Starbucks cup in the middle of this unpaved forest road in the middle of the Minnesota wilds. And part of me was just screaming, get out and photograph it. But then the car is like, no, you're belted in. You'd have to like pull over, park, turn it off, waste the gas, get out, take the photo, get back in. No, just keep on driving. And I'm like, ugh. And every day I regret not taking that photo.
You could stage it.
So that's
no one will know.
That's part of like my artistic integrity stuff, though, of all the trash photos that I take. I don't touch any of it until after I shoot it. Mm-hmm. Once I take the shot, then to the best of my ability, I try to dispose of, the item that I see out and about. But yeah, if I just see it, I feel like it's kind of a good like an artistic
a principle
restriction.
Yeah.
Restriction, like a guardrail. So, so I don't have to, my editor instinct of like, oh, how can I like edit this shot, make it better? I just have to work with what I have and try to make it beautiful. And I think a lot of, beautiful and devastating, because when you see, this majestic Minnesota wilderness with a, Starbucks cup just plopped right down in the center of it, it's heartbreaking,
I always wonder about, when I see like a single piece of trash out in the middle of nowhere, like who was like this, I really appreciate these remote spots, and I got to throw this out of my car right now, though. I can't have it in my car for another second. But I will say I've seen, I've lightened up a little bit because I've seen crows doing the litter sometimes. It's like, you're the one that picked it up and dropped it out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, so that makes you think about like point source and non-point source pollution. So like if you think about a point source is kind of like that's an area where you can see, oh, all of the waste is coming from here. Or when there's a leak or a sewage spill at like the Lyric not the Lyric Hyperion. That's a
Lyric
theater.
Hyperion Theater. There's a sewage spill
at the Hyperion plant. Though I'm sure there's some NIMBYs.
There's probably been sewage issues at the Lyric Hyperion.
I'm sure there's some NIMBYs who would call black box theater a sewage issue.
A sewage issue. That's the review.
Yeah, right. But you would call that a point source thing, and you have more diffuse kinds of waste, like, things that just blow along the wind. That's kind of like a non-point source origin of waste. I know there are people who are way more knowledgeable about this stuff than I am that specialize in both of those things. Olivia Munoz, one of my friends at Surfrider, she specializes in, I believe, non-point source, or maybe she specializes in point source, but it's one of the two that she is like really knowledgeable about as like an urban planner and scientist kind of person. So that's like, that whole thing is a major rabbit hole you can dive down. But
well, I have a question not related to pollution, but so where did you grow up, Maylin, and how long have you been in Los Angeles, and what's your story of getting from where you started to here, and what was your transit profile where you were before? Yeah.
I grew up in Maine, and then my family moved to Beijing when I was a kid. And I lived there for about 5 years, and I think that was really what started my transit journey.
I have like the nerd that I am. I have looked at the Beijing train stations just to see what it looks like, because I've never been to mainland China, but East Asia tends to have the best train stations.
It's definitely different in terms of getting around. Like, there was a lot of people bike, so I biked a lot as a kid.
Or, I mean, I guess China, I just get the sense that China's changed so much that whenever I hear about someone writing about, like, in the 80s we didn't have, like, electric stoves, and then now,
Yeah, no, I don't know what it's like. I haven't been back in a really long time, but yeah, I've definitely rode my bike a lot. Like, no one wore a helmet. There were these huge bike lanes where there would be so many people biking, and there was also buses, taxis. There's all kinds of ways to get around. So I think that's probably what shaped me into the non-driving person.
Yeah.
Well, I do drive. I don't really drive in LA, but the non-driving person that I am today.
Well, so you lived in Maine before you went to Beijing, but you were not of driving age when you were in Maine.
No, I was 9 when I left. Yeah. So then I was in Beijing, also not of driving age, but it was just very free. I think as like a child or like preteen, teen, it's like you could get around, you could go anywhere in the city alone, and it's really safe.
So when I was in high school, we had mandatory driver's ed in school, and I didn't have a car, and I lived like walking distance from school, but my dad insisted on driving, I think, so that people could see what a cool and practical car he had with a unnecessary spoiler, like 2 seats and like 2 kids crammed into the passenger seat. Because if you have 4 kids, you want to have a car that has 2 seats. And I just thought it was so stupid. And I didn't understand why we didn't have mandatory rider's ed or walker's ed or something to teach us. Because I know adults that are not opposed to the idea of taking public transportation, but they're intimidated by it because they've never done it. And they're just like, I don't know. What if I do it wrong? What if I get on the bus on the wrong side of the street and it goes the other direction? I mean, I've done that, but once you've done it, it's not that bad. I got on a train in Busan, or the bus, and because I can understand the Korean, I can read the Korean alphabet, but my Korean is like just subremedial. So I got on and went the wrong direction. And you just get to the end of the line, and then the guy like shoved me back on the bus and
it is kind of embarrassing,
and then I turned around. Yeah.
I always feel so embarrassed when I do that. I'm like, I'm going to get off the bus and get
right.
across the street.
No. I mean, I've definitely passed my stop before and then been like, oh, whoops, I'm going the wrong way. And then you're just like, I'm going to carry on this charade for a couple more stops and then get off and then just
you just pretend that you know what you're doing.
Look, there's a bus stop on the other side of the street. I'll see if it, And then you hop on when the bus is gone. But it doesn't happen that often to me.
To your point about, Maylin, like buses and freedom when you're younger. I grew up in Scranton, Pennsylvania, which, there is one bus line that has like a 65-minute headway. It stops running at 4 p.m. It's terrible. But when I was a kid, my friends and I, maybe like 6th grade, 7th grade, we would, take the bus from the small town that we lived into downtown Scranton to go to their like mall. And that little taste of freedom for us as like small rural, grade school kids was just like, whoa, sky is the limit, or I think for me, it was probably like the first time I felt like, wow, I'm in control of my destiny, getting on the bus, going down to Scranton to play Dance Dance Revolution and take the train back. Not the train back. There's a train museum in Scranton. We have no trains, sadly. Though we are supposed to be getting an Amtrak to New York, which will be amazing if and when that ever opens up. So then I don't have to bug all of my friends to pick me up from Philadelphia every time I go visit home.
Well, I'll tell you, my story is much sadder about that because I grew up mostly outside of Columbia, Missouri, so I could ride my bike to high school. I mean, I would ride my bike pretty good distance. I would ride down to the Missouri River. I had like basically 2 instructions, like if a dog chases you, don't pedal because they'll go after your legs because they're moving. Their predatory instinct will kick in. But I always pedaled because if you don't pedal, you stop.
Yeah,
then they bite you.
The dogs.
And honestly, sometimes people would like sick their dogs on people because, unlike what John Fogerty said, people on the river are sometimes total dickheads, in my experience. And I wasn't supposed to put my feet in the Missouri River, which of course I always did. You got to dip your toes in the river, but you don't want to. I didn't get washed away. Out to the Gulf of Mexico. But so we didn't have, I don't remember any kind of like city buses or anything. I'm sure they had like a campus bus because University of Missouri's there, Stevens College and Columbia College. We had school buses and stuff like that. I don't know if there's a city bus, but we used to, my mom was a big cyclist and we used to ride into town from like a fairly young age. And I just remember it being so terrifying just to, with no bike infrastructure, just share roads with cars that are flying past you. But I got really excited one day because I saw a sign when I was by Stevens College, I remember, and it said Subway. And I was like, the day has finally come. We have a Subway, but it had sandwiches inside. When I went inside, I was so gutted. Like, what the hell is this? I hadn't heard of Subway, the sandwich chain. It was so sad. After Beijing, when did you come to Los Angeles?
Oh, yeah, after Beijing. So my parents got divorced and my family moved back to the U.S. to Cary, North Carolina, which is the suburb. And wow, did I really? Really hated living there.
I lived in a true suburb briefly once.
Cary.
Oh my God. Yeah.
But yeah, so it was like going from like this, very busy dense city where there's like so many different options for transportation to the suburbs where you're basically isolated by design, right? Like I could ride my bike, but it wasn't convenient. There were hills, everything was far. It was just like I just felt so trapped because I also wasn't able to drive at the time. I think that just like cemented that the suburbs are just like not for me personally.
But you did get a driver's license at some point, yeah?
Yeah, when I was 17,
Okay.
I did. I took driver's ed and everything, and had a car. I definitely drove for a long time. I've driven in LA too. So I moved here after college.
You don't have a car now, though.
I don't. No,
You don't.
I got rid of my car
Yeah.
in 2019. So, kind of like almost like the year before the pandemic, and I like getting around using different. I love like multi-modal transportation. So like the more modes of transportation that I can use in a single journey, like the happier I
It's
am. Like if I could
gamifying it, yeah.
if I could like kayak to the bike, and then bike to the train, and then train to like the I don't know.
See, I
the
could be
gondola.
wrong. I could be wrong, but I feel like multimodalism is really intimidating to a lot of people that are car dependent. I think they look at it. I mean, sometimes people will ask me like, "How are you going to get from here to there?" And then, some of it's just rolling with it. So like
It makes it more fun.
I said, I got off the train. The train
Yeah.
wasn't coming for 14 minutes, so I went upstairs and took the bus. And then like I was thinking about walking too, but I was like, I do need to.
That was that idea that I was trying to pitch you, actually.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
I was,
okay.
like, trying to say, I want to do this thing where we use as many modes of transportation to get around LA as possible. I pictured, like, a little team of people just, like, taking all the modes.
My most multimodal trip probably was taking the bus to Union Station and then taking the train to Long Beach and then walking to take the ferry to Avalon and then taking a golf cart
That's pretty good.
to
Yeah, that's-
the
That would be, like,
campground.
my ideal situation, honestly.
And I remember thinking like, wow, I just stepped out of my house. I didn't bring a bike. Like it just felt like I didn't have any special equipment. Like I just walked out and here I am on an island like 50 miles from my house staying, in a campground I didn't. It was awesome.
That's probably why I love, like, the scooters. I know people hate them. But the fact that you could just, that's, like, the first last mile problem, right? It's like, how do you get get that distance? And I feel like scooters are perfect for that.
Yeah. I've only taken, I'll be honest, I've only ever taken one block in Los Feliz because I was just curious. I was like, I have to see what it's like, but I don't know. I mostly walk. I mean, I guess I definitely have my preferences, and there have been times where I'm like, okay, a scooter would come in handy now. Where are they?
Do you not like biking?
I like biking too. Yeah. I don't know. With biking, like one of the things I love about biking is that you don't need any special equipment. You can get all into all that stuff. For the longest time,
helmets are good.
I don't like it. See, I don't like a helmet. I don't use a helmet. I've been hit by cars, and it's like you know what? They hurt my legs. Like I'm like if I were going to wear pads that protect me in a bike collision, I should be wearing like pants armor because that's where they always hit me on my legs. My head's always fine, or I'll scrape my hands because I get knocked down. But I'm not a helmet guy. I do honestly. So we can disagree about this, but I do feel like that's big bike trying to sell you on more crap. Like, now you need biking gloves and you need the clip-ons and the shoes and the special You're going to bike in just shorts? You need special shorts.
So let's discuss this, right? Yeah. So my usual multimodal way to go is I take a one wheel. So it's like an electric, skateboard thing with a big old wheel in the center of it, right? Now, what I like about this is, listeners, you're not here in the studio with us, but I have this in a duffel bag with all of my swimming stuff because I'm going to go swimming after this podcast. And I'm planning to take the one wheel back from Santa Monica College to my apartment.
That's multimodal, like the swimming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Especially if you're swimming across anything.
Yeah.
So I'm going to swim up and down the bay.
Well, there's the John Cheever story about a guy that swims across all the swimming pools in the suburbs to get home, which is like a way of making commuting in suburbs fun.
Oh, that's funny. So the thing that I'm trying to figure out next is I want to get a folding bike that I could presumably stuff in a backpack of some sort to just carry it around with me. I've had bikes stolen from my building's parking garage. Like it's a locked, parking garage, and bikes have still disappeared. So I need to be able to fit it in my apartment, but I don't have room. So I'm thinking folding bike might be the way to go. But what do I do?
Yeah.
Are you thinking electric folding bike or
Definitely
regular
not.
folding
Standard.
bike? Okay.
Standard. I want the I'm a masochist, and so the way that I can make it the most physically demanding possible commute, I want that.
So you
Michael
want like
Schneider,
little tiny wheels.
Michael Schneider from Streets for All, I believe he rides a folding bike, and he'll ride it to LAX and then like fold it up and fly somewhere. So that's
something I want to do too. I want to ride my bike to LAX so badly.
Oh,
I haven't done it yet, but
I will, just so I don't have all the helmet brigade after me, I will say if wearing a helmet makes you feel safer and gets you riding bikes more, then go for it. But your internal organs are what's going to get crushed if you get killed by a car.
Well, also your brain.
Helmets help if you fall off your bike on your own. So, which some people do. Some people are prone to like stumble. And I definitely think like on a scooter, you're going to take a tumble.
Oh, yeah.
So
I think,
that's
wearing
what's
a
so
helmet
scary
on
to
a
me
scooter
is
is
all
a good idea.
the cracks on the road that are like just the perfect width for like a scooter wheel to get wedged in. I'm just like, Wait, so okay, we're talking about so you came out here, you had a car when you got. So do you remember? Because I remember kind of when I stopped driving. I went for 7 months without driving my last car, and then it got towed and impounded because I didn't move it for so long. It was on a one block street with a cul-de-sac. I thought no one's going to care, but NIMBYs care. They don't like
They
seeing
called.
cars that aren't moved. So I was kind of an experiment because I knew people that didn't have that didn't have cars, and they seemed like they were everywhere. Like every time I would go to like a party or an event, they were there, and I was like, "How do you guys get around?"
They just looked really smug too.
One was Canadian, one's Irish, so they kind of had just like, I don't know, a little bit harder to read, but maybe there was a smugness. Like, yeah, we're better than you, and they're fit, of course, but it's like, and they drink, and they just like, yeah, it just seemed like they had it figured out. And I do remember though, like getting rid of my car and then just feeling like a little bit nervous, like a little bit scared, like, oh, no, what have I done? Like as if you couldn't just get another car, but like, oh, I've committed to this thing that I'm all in on now. And I don't know, I was just wondering what went through your head when you decided.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd wanted to get rid of it for a while. Like, I had a job where I could walk to work, and I think that just like spoiled me for every commute after that. I was like, I never want to commute ever again in my life because walking to work was just amazing. And I did have a car though at the time. And then I wasn't driving a lot. I still had a car, but I would take the bus to work because if you didn't park at work, they would give you like, I think like $75 a month or something. So I was just taking the bus to work, and then so my car would just be parked on the street, and then the only times I would really move it was for street cleaning because it's street cleaning on Wednesday and Thursday. So I'd have to move it like from one side of the street to the other. And I just didn't really drive it. Like even on weekends, I would like take Lyft because I just didn't want to drive.
No,
like
it
I would
becomes like this
rather
annoying thing.
not do it. So I just
Right.
had the car as like a safety mechanism, almost like a
Yeah,
safety
like a
net. So I was like,
backup,
oh my
I
God,
need
if
this just in
something,
case.
yeah, if there's an emergency,
Right.
like what if my friend needs me and they're in Burbank or something? I don't
That
know.
reminds me though, because I was once at a birthday party I was in Highland Park. The venue isn't important, but so I was at a birthday in Highland Park, and this guy who I didn't even know overheard me. Someone asked how I got there, and I said, "Oh, I took the bus." And then someone else said, "Like, oh, he doesn't have a car," and this guy got mad, and it's funny to me that people, and it's happened more than once, that people get mad that you've like somehow. They feel like they're being judged. Their existence with a car is like, I didn't say anything to this guy, but he said, what? You don't have a car. That's like really irresponsible. What would you do if there was an emergency in Culver City right now with one of your friends? And I was like, if it was an emergency, I would tell them call 911. Why would they call me? Like, I am not equipped to help with any emergency. Oh, and he also said, and you needed to be over there in 15 minutes. And I was like, I wouldn't be there in 15 minutes without a jetpack anyway. Like, what? This weird hypothetical. And then people will say things like, what if you need to move furniture or whatever? And it's like, they have like U-Hauls that are like $19.99 a day or whatever. Like, I'm not going to like pay $13,000 a year to register and maintain and repair and fill up with gas and pay parking and all that just so I can move a couch in an emergency or whatever.
Yeah, I think there's a facet of modern American macro culture, I guess you would say, where I know this from talking to my relatives back home, but like people just get so fired up over these extreme hypotheticals, like, oh, what if there's an accident, or like, what if this, what if that? What are the odds of any of those happening, really?
Well, to me, it reminds me of conversations with people in the country about guns. Like the way city people that are like, I need to have a car just in case, is how country people talk about, what if a mountain lion attacks and there's no police officer? It's just like, when is this happening to you? What if there's an apocalypse and like an invading army? Like, I need my semi-automatic weapons. Like, it feels like this. Yeah, it's this weird thing. I don't know. Like these people probably don't even have earthquake kits, and yet it's like, well, I need to have a car just in case I need to move a couch to Culver City in 15 minutes.
Well, just in case the earthquake
An
happens,
emergency couch.
and you need to get away from the earthquake really fast.
Right.
Drive
yeah.
away on the roads that are earthquake damaged. What made you get rid of your car?
I don't know if there was anything specific. I think like I just had it. Hadn't been driving it for a long time. I just had it as this like safety net, and I wasn't really driving it. So I finally donated it to KCRW.
Nice.
And someone
Public
came and just hauled it
radio.
away. And, I mean, I didn't get any money. I think it was like a tax write-off, but the car wasn't in like amazing shape. It was really old. It was like a 93. It had over 200,000 miles. So it just felt like kind of a liability. Like if you have to think about like, where's my car? Like it's part of your brain that's always like, okay, where did I park my car? Because I usually parked on the street. So I'd always have to have that in my mind. And I'm always afraid of getting towed. And it just felt like that weight lifted. Like I didn't have to think about it anymore. I'd have to worry about this like piece of something that was like just out there, on its own.
It is. I don't know. I know people that get really annoyed when you say like car storage or something because it's like, ugh, like don't use those like transity buzzwords. And stuff. But I like that because it does reframe the way you think about parking. And like parking sounds so nice. It's got park in it. But it's really like, no, it's this thing you're kind of lugging around that's so big, so much bigger than you need it to be for most jobs. Like I don't know. I wish I knew the statistic off the top of my head of how many trips are under a mile in Los Angeles. It's significant. And the idea that it's like, oh, how can I need to go to the grocery store to get one thing. Like I better grab my like 3-ton off-road luxury vehicle that has like seating for 8 and carry. It's like basically you're like lugging that with you and then you find a place to put it while you go inside. And it's like all that so that you can't walk.
And
So that
people
you
are
don't
really,
have to walk?
people who drive are very angry. I feel like they're very, very unhappy.
There's
they're very upset.
It is funny. Well, and I've said this before too, like
Driving makes people miserable.
Yeah,
That's my theory.
everyone that drives refers to everyone else that's driving as an asshole or an idiot. What the is this
Yep,
doing? What's
yep.
this idiot? Look at this idiot. Wow. They're like road rage is a car specific thing. When you're on the bus, you're not enraged at the road. And if you're annoyed, you're annoyed because there's cars in front of you.
When you're
making
biking,
the bus slow. If you're on a bike, you're annoyed with cars.
When I feel like when you're biking, you're like happy. It makes
but
me
it's
happy.
fun. It's
Yeah,
fun.
it's fun.
And
People in the cars are just like miserable all the time.
I have so many stories where people have offered, like, they're like, let's go here. And I'm like, okay. And then, I had a roommate once. There used to be a Burrito King a block from our apartment. It's a long block, granted, but still one block. And they were like, let's go to Burrito King. I was like, sure. So I started walking down the drive there. And they're like, oh, we're going to drive. And I was like, oh, then I'll meet you there, because I'm not walking to the car to drive a block. And then you have to look for parking. And then we walk from the parking probably a block or more to the Burrito King. And they were like, are you mad at us? And I was like, no, that just seems insane to me I'll just walk there. And then, I walked and I ordered my food and I had already gotten it. And then they like showed up. Oh, okay. So we found parking. Like, I was just like, why? What do you love about parking so much? Like moving your car around. It just seems so weird.
Yeah, my first relationship when I was in high school, one of like the biggest like rifts in our relationship came from parking and trying to find parking spaces. I don't like finding parking spaces. I will just park in the farthest away end of the lot.
Honestly, yeah.
So I don't have to think about it and just walk across. And my partner at the time did not like that.
No, you've got to wait for it's like, I think that person's going to a car. Like, let's just hover. Let's just wait while they load their groceries so that we don't have to walk an extra 20 feet.
The amount of strife that happened and just like, and even now I feel residual terror in my body whenever like I can't find a parking space. Like, wait, where's the argument happening? And it is just like a weird phenomena, the weird kind of somatic stuff that, like the car rage, is just deeply instilled in your bones when you've driven for so long.
Specifically within Los Angeles, because I don't know anyone that goes on vacation to London or Paris or whatever and is like, okay, gotta rent a car and then figure out how to get everywhere in a car. Like people, I feel like adapt really quickly to, oh, I don't have a car where I am unless it's here. And then it's like, I know people that have moved here from other cities who are like, okay, so I got to rent a car or I got to buy a car right away. And it's like, no, you could try to not do that,
For me, at least, there was a learning curve, like, because I grew up in, Scranton and we don't have any sort of viable transit out there. So, and even when I was traveling around for work a lot, I didn't think I went to the Bay Area a bunch. Like, I didn't think, oh, I could take BART, or when I went to San Diego, I didn't think like, oh, I could just take MTS, like you just don't. If you don't live in a city, and I think a lot of folks, sure, like maybe a bulk of the population is in cities, but a lot of folks just don't have any frame of reference for that stuff. So for me, it took probably a good, 2 to I just figured out the buses a couple of weeks ago, really. So like I'm still fresh into this and I'm very enthusiastic about it. So I think it takes a while to have the realization and then to figure out how to make it work for you. Because it's not like a car that's just like, okay, just get in, drive or whatever,
I do think that one of the things about the buses that's tricky to people and intimidating is that, first of all, almost no bus stops have any kind of map displayed. So you don't see a route map, you don't see a system map. So I get the impression that most people that take the bus, they're taking the same bus every time. It's like, I'm taking this bus to work, I take this bus home, or I know how to take this bus to where I go shopping, whatever. Like they have their routes, but people don't. I think it's probably a much smaller percentage of people that think, okay, so I'm going to Pio Pico Library. How do I get there using transit, But I mean, I could be wrong, but I feel like, well, I guess I did want to, talk about and acknowledge some of the perils and of taking transit. And I remember I was talking about getting around without a car at Emerson once, and one of the students asked me about like safety concerns, and I was like, oh, well, I always wear sunblock, and I try to bring water if I'm walking, and and she was like, oh, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I was like, mosquito repellent, and so because I was like, oh, no one ever messes with me on anything, but you're a woman, right? Or, I mean, I don't know how you identify. I should have asked. Sorry.
Yeah,
Okay. But how I'm sure you probably have different experiences with different modes of transportation as a woman, because that has been a blind spot that I've become aware of with my own transiting.
I would never want to downplay someone's like safety concerns. I think it is very real. And I have to say, like, my level of tolerance for risk is probably different from the average person's. I think that's probably true. Like, I bike in LA, so obviously,
Me too.
Already living on the edge.
I think I have a little bit of a different sense of safety compared to other people, and that's individual to each person.
It is funny because I mean, when I see, polls about why people don't use use the bus or more, and it's on things like Streets Blog, and it's sort of a self-selecting. It's like, oh, it's people that read Streets Blog that are filling this out, or whatever. The people that fill out those surveys and stuff, and people, I will say, okay, sorry, I have an aside to my own aside. People will say it's because it's not convenient to me, or it's not fast, or I feel like people even answer how they think they're supposed to answer, because I've asked people, like one of my coworkers, I was like, no wrong answer. Why don't you take the bus? Or what's your least favorite thing about taking the bus? And if you could just wave a magic wand. And she was like, I just don't like the bums. Like, that's in her words. That's what she said. And I was like, okay, well, yeah. I don't, I was like, and she's like, I know you're not supposed to say that or whatever. And I was like, is it the safety? Because I think everyone wants to feel safe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean.
But also you can't. So much of it is psychological, and it's hard to convince someone that's engaging like the amygdala part of their brain that's just like, I'm having this visceral response to this. This thing makes me uncomfortable, because I've also known people that come from towns that are much whiter that are like, they wouldn't say, it's like, I just don't feel comfortable on this train. And I'm like, oh, is it because it's very not white, but that was definitely the sense I got from certain people. So
the suburbs.
You can't. It's hard because you can't like cater to everyone's insecurities and irrational fears, but at the same time, you also don't want to dismiss people's real concerns about safety. And right now there's been so much of I wouldn't say I mean, I don't know if it's been an uptick in violence on buses, but there's definitely been an uptick in reporting on violence on buses, and the police have a massive media relations wing where they love to center those stories because they are worried about transit ambassadors taking over and them getting booted from transit. So they're like, oh yeah, well, did you hear about this thing that happened? There was one the other day where it was like this fight happened with these people that had gotten off a bus, and I was like, oh, so they weren't on a bus where this incident happened. They were on a public sidewalk. And that's not to say that all the violence, I don't want any violence, and I want everyone to feel safe, and you're not going to win an argument being like, there's not that much violence. It's public space. It's just like, it's not because it's the bus or the train. I feel like it's just like you live in a city and there's public spaces, and negative public interactions happen in public spaces. They happen in public parks. They happen on public streets. They happen in public roadways. They happen on public sidewalks. They happen in public transportation. If there's people interacting with strangers, that's where like those kinds of things can happen.
I mean, I think there is a little bit like people associate like feeling unsafe or feeling uncomfortable with being unsafe, and those two things don't always align. No. I think there really are, valid safety concerns. I was actually thinking about this on the way here, but because one of your questions was about like being harassed or something.
Yeah.
Something happened to me recently. I was like standing at a bus stop waiting for the bus, and a woman like tapped me on the shoulder, and what she said to me was like, "You don't look Asian."
Oh.
And it just, I don't know. It was kind of like this. It's obviously like a racial like
just
microaggression. Yeah.
Okay.
But it made me laugh because like I'm like a mixed Asian person, so I'm Asian, but I'm also white, and so the fact that this person like picked up on that and was like, "You're not Asian," it's just like funny to me. I don't know. But again, maybe I'm just using humor to sort of be like, okay, I'm not Asian. That's cool. I don't remember. I was like near. It was near downtown, near Union Station.
I do feel like, different transit lines, different bus stops have different personalities, totally.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the beautiful things about public transportation is that you're around people that are not like you.
Right.
That are not the same class, not the same race. Like, there's like a beauty in that. And, one of my favorite things is probably like being on the bus or being on the train and just like hearing just like the chatter around you in different languages, or just people are just talking to their friends or their family. Like to me, that's a really beautiful experience. But yeah, do bad things happen?
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. But I'll compare it to another thing. Like it's like a bar in a way. It's like a third place. It's like people don't think about it as a third place, but it is a third place because it's not your work, it's not your home. You don't know who's going to be there. It's a little bit less class diverse maybe than going into a bar where you might have someone who's really wealthy, because wealthy people the wealth hoarders are terrified of the public. But yeah, you go into a bar and like people say inappropriate things. They're drunk and but you hear all the different, it's just like a space where everyone gathers. And you see
interactions that are like really beautiful, or really collaborative, or it's like people like giving a tourist directions or something like that. You see those things, like you see negative things, but I think you see positive things as well.
Absolutely.
Can you talk, Maylin, a little bit more about how sometimes your perception of feeling unsafe isn't the same as actually being unsafe? This might not be like the greatest allegory, but like I surf, and a lot of times like I surf Bay Street in Santa Monica. So, I'll paddle out and I will get irrationally panicked. Like,
about sharks?
I'm going to get eaten, or I'm going to like belly flop on a stingray. And statistically speaking, like I'm far more likely to, die by a toaster. Like I'm probably like very safe in that kind of situation, but my nervous system just like goes totally haywire sometimes,
I'll jump in because I used to scuba dive. I used to work at a scuba shop, and like it's really hard to shake the fear of sharks once you've seen Jaws. but I would go cave diving. I'm like 80 feet underwater in caves. And it's like you're so much more likely to have like a cave in underwater than get eaten by a shark. But I didn't have that fear. Or even as like a neighborhood explorer, if you go to a neighborhood that has a reputation like Watts, it's hard to not get your spider, your tingly, like, is there going to be another Watts riot that erupts because while I'm here? Like, even though, the crime rate might be the same in West Hollywood or something, and the likelihood of a stranger or something happen. Or even another example that I've been using with people is, would you rather get on a Boeing 737 MAX or take your shoes off and get, like, one is safety theater, but I'm sure some people are like, I just like everyone taking off their shoes because then we know there's no shoe bombs. And it's like, yeah, but you're getting on a plane that keeps like trying to land itself by crashing, No,
I mean, I think like that hypervigilance is real, and it's meant to keep us safe. Mm-hmm. So I would never discount someone's like sense of safety or what they feel comfortable with, because I think that's really important to like listen to your gut, listen to your intuition.
Maybe to just also recognize that it's normal to feel like nervous and heightened senses, especially when you're in an unfamiliar situation. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that something bad is going to happen.
Even with COVID, I think like a lot of us were probably really nervous just being around other people.
And people get really relaxed in cars, but like it's so dangerous. It's crazy that people. I mean, flying down a freeway, swerving and tailgating, and it's just like, oh no, I feel safe though because I'm listening to my music on my speakers.
I think I'm defective because I am absolutely high strung whenever I am in a vehicle. If a friend is driving me, I am open handles all the way. Wait, stop sooner! You're not braking early enough. I don't know. So maybe there's like something wrong with me, but like I've never, even like Ubers, I cannot stand.
And how many people feel just really comfortable just speeding down a highway and they're just on their phone? And I'm like, I've said to people like, do you want me to send a text to someone? Like, you can drive and I'll do that for you. You can tell me what to write, or I'm not going to like look through your phone and see anything, look for inappropriate stuff or whatever. It's just like, why do you feel so comfortable? Especially people that have been in multiple accidents texting while they're driving and stuff. But people become it's so funny that, yeah, people are so comfortable about that.
What are y'all going to do on your rides home?
I'll probably just listen to a podcast and look out the window.
Do you mean like what routes are we going to take?
What routes are you going to take? How do you plan on passing the time?
Well, I was going to like rent a Metro bike because I think there's a station close by. And then I was going to ride around because I'm writing a story about one of the neighborhoods that's kind of close by. So I was going to try to like ride around in the streets.
What are you writing about? What neighborhood?
It's Country Club Park.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's
Let's
pretty
talk
close
about
by.
that a little bit though, because of the gated streets there. Because are you involved with Open Sidewalks LA, that group?
Yeah, I've been talking to them. So yeah, I'm working on a story, but I don't know when this podcast will come out. But I don't know
Yeah.
when the story's gonna come out.
We can talk about or not talk about it, but yeah. I mean, if we leave any of this in, there are streets in Silver Lake. There are streets in Los Angeles that are gated to prevent cars. There are streets in Los Angeles that are gated to prevent pedestrians from passing through, and there are ones that are to prevent both. And there are efforts afoot to get some of those open, and oppositional forces too, which, I've been trying to get some stair streets in Silver Lake open, and some of them have been locked for 34 years now with revocable permits, but I don't know. It does go back to our discussion though about the perception of safety versus the like real safety, because, Los Angeles has, according to the FBI, Los Angeles has the 29th highest crime rate in the country of any city, which is to me very low for the second largest city. And Silver Lake is probably like 200th within that city. So it's a very safe neighborhood. We have about 56 public stair streets in Silver Lake, and 4 of them roughly are locked. And people always cite safety, like that live by them. Like, well, I just, I don't feel safe if they're unlocked. And I just think, do you think that your 4 locked public sidewalks are the only reason that Silver Lake is so safe? Like, if we open those, it's like all hell will break. These are the only things holding back the flood, the crime, the stair crime.
We had to do a term define. What is a stair street?
So, I mean, there's different public stairways. Some people will differentiate a stair street as being a stair that has houses on it. So it's all, I like to call them streets though, because they are technically streets. They're defined by law as streets, but people become more comfortable about gating them because they think, well, this isn't really a street. Like if I said, hey, there's crime on my street in Silver Lake that cars go down, can we just slap gates across it so that only people that live on my block can like unlock it? People would be like, no, that's crazy. I need to get my kids to that school and this and that. But if it's a stair street, not a car street, it's like, oh yeah, no, go ahead and lock it. Like that can be your just little private thing now, this public asset. To me, it goes towards the pedestrian is like the everything that happens in the city, it seems like, is designed or just ends up sending the signal to the pedestrian that you're the lowest priority. And even things that I like alfresco dining, it's like, yes, we should be eating outside. Oh, can we have alfresco dining in the parking spot? Could you put it on the sidewalk and just inconvenience people with walkers and wheelchairs instead, actually, so that I can park here? And then, like homeless encampments, I don't want to just sweep them away, but it's like, okay, well then can we create a safe pedestrian route so that they're not in conflict? If there's a sidewalk that's taken over by an encampment underneath a freeway, can we just have some K-rail barriers like we did during COVID for alfresco dining so that I can just have a way so I'm not walking through someone's belongings? And it's like, no, that's not a high priority, because then we'd have to take away space from cars, you see, and that can't happen. So everything is just like, as long as it's just impacting pedestrians, then who cares? That's how I feel. Sorry. That's not in the city charter or anything. But sometimes you can, there's the Glendale Hyperion Bridge, the Victory Memorial Bridge is a bridge by me, and you can just tell by walking on it. If anyone's ever walked across it, it's terrifying. Had a friend visit from Scotland. He called me. He thought he'd walk. He was like, I was walking on a sidewalk, and all of a sudden, I don't know where I am. I don't think I'm supposed to be here. And I was like, oh, I know where you are. If you feel like you're not supposed to be there, you're on the Glendale Hyperion Bridge, but you're supposed to be there. That's why there are plaques on these sidewalks that are no longer even as wide as my feet are long. Like, these sidewalks have been shaved so thin to accommodate so much space for cars. There's even like a center turn lane, even though you can't turn on or off of a bridge in the middle of it. So it's like, why did we need to make it so wide for cars and so narrow for pedestrians? But
wow. Well, on my ride back on the Rapid 7 today, I am going to be catching up on some homework. I realized that I am recently, this is unrelated to transit stuff, but I met with a counselor at SMC recently, and I am one class away from having an AS in recycling and resource management. So I either have to do an internship or take an ethics class in the fall. If I don't bomb the current crop of classes that I am taking, fingers crossed. So I'm going to be doing some zero waste culture and business practice homework on the way back, and probably looking for internships. So
what is an AS?
Like an associate's.
Okay.
Yeah, associates in science versus
and
an
SMC
AA.
is Santa Monica
Santa
College.
Monica College, yeah.
For anyone that
SMC, bro.
doesn't recognize all the acronyms.
Yeah, we've got like a student garden and stuff.
So, what neighborhood do you live in, Maylin, if you don't mind saying? We're not going to dox you. We don't need to know your intersection or your address, but. Okay. Yeah. So, how do you feel about getting, I have thoughts about Palms, because Palms is, I'll just say real fast, it's very densely populated for the West Side, and it has a lot of my favorite amenities. Probably a bigger concentration of my favorite things are in Palms than any other part of the West Side. Really? Yeah. Well, the Museum of Jurassic Technology, Sempong Asia, the Irish Times. There are a lot of, and it's got a train line. But yet when I explored it for my site, I was like, wow, it still feels it was tough to walk around. Like, everything seemed, I don't know. It felt dense, but there were a lot of like large multi-unit buildings that they just didn't seem very activated, like on the street level for me in some areas. There's these gargantuan apartment buildings that just, I don't know, it kind of challenged some of my perceptions. I was like, this is the densest neighborhood on the West Side. Well, how come it feels, I mean, it's still the West Side. I think it's part of it, but maybe there's no center, there's not.
Yeah, I mean, I live in a dingbat, which is like a classic type of Palms architecture.
Do you know what a dingbat is?
No, what's a dingbat?
I don't know the official definition, but there's like parking spaces like underneath the building.
In the front.
Yeah, in the front, so it adds parking.
Yeah. It's a very 50s type of architecture because it looks like it's like a box. I mean, if you once you get an image of it, you'll see them and be like, "Oh, those." So it's like a box with parking in front, like right. You go over the sidewalk, and then a lot of times there's like a little some design element, and then like a name, like the Cavalier Arms, and then there's like a crest, and you're like, "Wow, fancy." Yeah. But then they kind of got, I think because of changing codes, they got erased by the 50s and replaced by the sort of building that I live in that was built in the 60s that I don't think has an official name, but I just call them motel-style apartments because it's 2 stories, has a breezeway. Everybody has their own front door, so they get to pretend that they're living in, a single-family home. We're not sharing like a hallway or an entryway, which I think that's a dingbat thing too. Usually, right? You have your own outdoor yeah. And then they move the parking to the back for like the ones that I live in. But sorry, so you live in a dingbat?
I really like living in Palms a lot. I feel like it's pretty walkable, other than the cars. But Other than the cars that are like kind of cutting through
Yeah.
the residential streets. There's like metro bike stations there. There's a metro station, Palm Station.
Does Venice go through Palms? Yeah, and the Venice has changed a lot since the last time I rode my bike through there. Last year I tried to do this overly ambitious bike ride. I tried to ride to all the ethnic enclaves in one day to do like a grand tour like they used to do in Europe in the 19th centuries. And like, oh, I'm going to go to all the countries except I'm just going to go to all the enclaves in Los Angeles on my bike. We got about halfway, but I remember going through Venice or up Venice and being like, oh, this is new. This feels less scary than
We got bike
before.
lanes.
Yeah.
We got like protected bike lanes that we didn't
What
have
a difference
before.
it makes. Yeah.
Yeah. I like Palms. I feel like it is denser and the population is younger. I think it's younger, more educated, and like poorer than
Yeah.
other
Those
comparable
are
neighborhoods.
educated and poor. And like those are the people you want to hang out with.
It's the people that are living there and like going
Yeah.
to UCLA or something.
Yeah.
The grad students.
It's probably more renters than most of the West Side for sure, I would think.
Yeah, I think you're right. There are some single family homes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that rent.
It's also sort of a not strictly defined neighborhood. I mean, most neighborhoods in Los Angeles don't have official borders. People's definition, I've talked to people from, who are like, I live in Mar Vista, I live in, people will, or Culver City, and like, okay. Not by my definitions or not by the DOT's like, I was commissioned once to make a map of West Adams, and the Department of Transportation's definition was so different from the Department of City Planning's definition that they didn't even overlap. There was like a mile between on West Adams. Like DOT was like, oh no, it's way down here on West Adams Boulevard. And then City Planning's like, no, it's further east on West Adams. So there's very few. This is actually like a West Side and kind of funny thing. One of the only neighborhoods that has very strictly defined borders is Hollywood. And that's because I think it was 1930, all the studios had left Hollywood. Hollywood had been annexed by Los Angeles, so Hollywood's no longer its own city. So then Culver City, where a lot of the movies studios were, decided they were going to change their name to Hollywood. They're like, if it's up for
That's
grabs.
smart, yeah.
And then the city of Los Angeles was like, no, okay, we're gonna say this is Hollywood, it's official. You can't call your city Hollywood. So then if you look at a lot of movies from the classic Hollywood era, they'll say at the end, made in like blah, blah, blah studio in Culver City where the Hollywood movies are made. so bitchy. You have to love it. So what if you could though wave your wand and make transit, what would you, or like changes in Palms, what would you do?
I mean, we have like a bus only lane on Venice now, but I think if there was like, it was just like all the way down Venice, like you could go all the way downtown.
Yeah.
So 33 right now is the bus that goes all the way from Palms to like downtown area. That would be amazing.
That might have been the bus I took. I don't remember where I was coming back from, but it was one of the most chaotic buses I've ever been on going down Venice Boulevard. It was an articulated bus,
which
packed to the
direction?
brims, going east.
Going east.
It was just so crowded, and it felt like this weird, crazy party.
I
in
used to get
good and bad ways.
Yeah, I used to get stranded because I would take the bus home from work. I used to get stranded at Venice and Fairfax like in the evening because the bus that was coming from downtown and going towards Santa Monica would just like never come.
Yeah.
So I'd just be like at the corner of Venice and Fairfax being like waiting for my bus. And I think a bus only lane could solve that. Or they could put scooters there. Or a Metro
Yeah.
bike share station would be great too.
I wish there were more scooter corrals or something. Like just I went to Barcelona a couple years ago, and it was just the way they had transformed the city so quickly by just taking blocks and saying, this parking space is just going to be a scooter corral now. And these two parking spaces are going to be for delivery vehicles that are here like 5-minute parking tops. This is going to be bike racks, like on so many blocks, at least in the area where tourists go. I don't know, maybe, a lot of times you go further out into the suburbs and stuff. They're like, oh, it's not that great out here. And also dedicated bus lanes. And so I think it was like day one in Barcelona. I step out of the hotel and I see my bus leaving and I'm like, oh no. And then another bus came in 2 minutes. And I was like, oh, that's why you don't have like the bus schedule posted, because buses just come constantly.
That would be amazing.
The longest I ever waited was 4 minutes for a bus. And the average wait time was like between 2 and 4 minutes. And they're just buses constantly coming. And that, it seems like such a cheap I mean, it costs more in political will than it costs in money, I feel like, to make a network of bus-only lanes.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like the bus has this like public perception problem, which is that people think it's like poor people who ride the bus, which I mean is true, but it's like
true.
there's this stigma, and it's like how we treat things that are for like poor people or people who are disadvantaged. We don't treat it like it's a priority. We don't make it good. We're just like, oh, you know.
Yeah, just because
it's relied upon
by because it's relied upon by working class people, we don't have to make it nice.
I think that's how we got like La Sombrita, right? It's like everyone, you know, no one thought that anyone would care because it's poor people that ride. That's my.
For anyone that doesn't know what La Sombrita is, you should maybe describe La Sombrita if you can.
It's a bus shade.
Do you know it?
No.
Okay.
It's like a bus shade. It's kind of like it's 2 feet wide, and then
it looks like a big skateboard to me, attached to a pole, but with holes in it.
It doesn't look like it's really meant to provide shade, but they created it as this like quick bill to provide shade at bus stops that can't have bus shelters. But it's sort of this thing where it's like.
But why can't they have bus shelters? Is it because they just you'd have to take away space from cars.
Yeah. So it's like we come up with these like political compromises and we call it like this revolutionary idea when really you haven't done anything. You're just patting yourself on the back for trying, which is like, why should you get credit for that? Why do you get credit for this thing that doesn't do anything?
Yeah, Los Angeles does a lot of dancing in the end zone, but we're not in the end zone.
That's right.
You're like patting yourself on the back, like, oh wow, you did something so nice for bus riders. Yeah, it's just
it's very frustrating,
bothers
and
me.
I mean, you know, those things become normal, like anything, like seeing gates in a neighborhood. You just if they've been there your whole life, or you've never like the bus stops in your neighborhood have never had benches or shelter or real-time arrival displays or waste bins or any kind of aesthetic considerations or off-board payment systems or, you know, some of the things you might see made by. It's funny because I'll go on another tangent. When I was in Paris, I was like, wow, these bus stops are so amazing. They're pretty, and there's like plexiglass, and you can see, and they have seating, and there's shelter and lighting and all this stuff. And I was like, I wonder what company makes them. And I was like, oh, JCDecaux, that's who makes ours in Los Angeles too. But
used to.
Right, their contract is no longer that contract is ended, but so it's not the company like that they don't know how to make. It's just the city's like, you know, and then there's
it's
all
the politics of
the
like
bureaucracy.
how things
Neighborhoods don't want
operate.
them sometimes.
Yeah,
people are like, we don't want a bus stop in our neighborhood. I mean, I got told that actually by somebody from JCDecaux that one of the bus stops that they had got removed because people said, well, people could be like selling drugs behind that. And I'm like, people could be selling drugs in a lot of places, you know?
Have you checked your neighbor's apartment?
People are selling drugs in a lot of places. I'll just tell you, you know? Like,
it's only bad when poor people are doing it outside where you can see them.
And the wrong kind of drugs, not like Chardonnay being delivered by Drizzly or whatever. You're like, no, that's the good kind of self-medicating. No, the ones that happen by bus areas. And I've seen a lot of drug dealing, but I've never seen anyone do it behind a bus stop, to be honest. Personally, I mean, that's not where I would choose to sell drugs. Were I to do that or ever. What else? Do you have a favorite transit route in the city? I mean, you mentioned that you want to have like the ultimate multi-modal. It can be like
I mean, is it the Expo? It's the E-line.
Yeah,
the
E-line.
Okay, yeah, that's probably my favorite transit line because it's close to me. It goes downtown. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It goes to Santa Monica. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and then that is the one that is extending out to Whittier probably eventually, I think.
Yep.
The East Side Extension.
Oh, yeah, it goes all the way out to East LA.
Yeah. Basically, right to the border with Monterey Park, but the part of Monterey Park where it's kind of a slog to get to most of the stuff that you want to get to in Monterey Park. I think the Venice Room is right by there, which is it's the only bar, I believe, in Monterey Park because it was annexed. The Venice Room was East Los Angeles, and then it was annexed by Monterey Park. So Monterey Park got a bar, even though they try not to have. This is another like one of my bugbears is that they're like, oh, we're a suburb and we don't want bars because that's sketchy. It's like, guess what? Everyone that drinks in your neighborhood is now going to drive to a bar in another suburb and then drive home drunk. So Congratulations on not having any bars that you can walk to or from.
Yeah, that's very much a Pennsylvania thing. So PA has a lot of draconian liquor laws. They've recently started relaxing in recent years, but historically you could not buy liquor and beer in the same store. You'd have to buy things from a state store that would close at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. every day. There's in a lot of towns, there's no buses, there's no transit. So if you go out, you have to drive home. You don't have, taxis or Ubers or that kind of stuff. So the whole system is designed to get you to go out to drive out to a bar, get really sloshed, drive home drunk, blast someone or something, and, fix your car afterwards. Suburban design.
I mean, I guess I keep bringing up examples of like coming up with ideas from traveling, but I don't remember the Mark Twain quote, but he had a great quote about like traveling and being, making you smarter. It was put more wittily than that. No, I've deliberately made that sound stupid. But I remember going to London, and there are multiple pubs on every block, it seems like. And like right now there is a fight about not wanting Highland Park to become like the Vegas of Los Angeles, but with just the amount of liquor license and stuff like that. And, I'm of two minds because I wouldn't want to have my neighborhood become like the party zone. But I also do think that, well, what London taught me was like, oh, it's really nice to just walk to the place that's closest to you. I think the difference here is that when you have concentrations of bars and then big areas where there aren't any, then it becomes a thing where people come from outside of the neighborhood to come to your bars and then go back. So it doesn't really fix it. But if you spread out amenities and don't have them all concentrated in one area, it seems like there's less reason for displacement. So if like there's bus lanes everywhere, then you don't need to move next to the bus lane or move next to the train line if you're building train lines everywhere. If you have bars that are walking distance instead of like the idea of like driving to them. And we also just normalize. It's just another thing where we normalize driving so much. And like the pandemic, when the bars were closed and it started having al fresco dining, I was like, oh my God, why don't they all have parking lots? Why don't they just turn those into like beer patios and then never turn them back into parking lots? Because I have driven to and from bars. I'm guilty of that when I had a car. But now I look at that and I'm like, that's insane that we have parking lots at bars. That we're like, yeah, no, you drive here and then you drink and then hopefully you're sober enough to get home in one piece. Like that we encourage that. We should be saying like, oh, you can drink outside. That's nice. But you find a different way. You walk or you take the bus here. I brought that up at a neighborhood council meeting once because I was saying to Shake Shack that I don't think they should have a parking lot because for that reason. And then someone, I think, was just making a bad faith argument, was like, I don't want to be hit by a drunk cyclist. And I was like, first of all, as a drunk cyclist, it doesn't work. If you're drunk, you can't ride a bike. Like I've gotten on a bike and been like, why is it wobbling? Why is my bike not balancing? And then you walk home with your bike. But yeah, you take a bus, you figure it out. Like make it harder for people to drink and drive.
So do we have any closing thoughts before we wrap up today?
You want to shout out? Well, I was going to say if you want to shout out any transit advocacy organizations or like transit events or other podcasts or blogs or,
I guess I would like to advance the idea that like getting around without a car is fun and it's a lot more fun than driving. And it just turns it into an adventure. And I think that I don't know. Like some of the things with like sustainability or like those kinds of things, I feel like we make it kind of a drag. We make it seem like a chore and like I'm a martyr because I don't have a car or something like that. But
it's
I feel like
oh, you're so big. You're eating your veggies. Like you're miserable. But it's like, you know what, vegetables are good.
Do it because they want to, because they enjoy it, because it's fun. I guess I could shout out like Adam Conover. Like he really likes taking the bus, which I think is really cool because I think a lot of people don't like taking the bus.
I will say, I've delivered groceries to him before, so I was like, okay, you really didn't drive and get groceries from the market.
He could be a good person to interview potentially. But yeah, I just think it's like I feel like I'm much happier not driving in LA. Like I did drive for a long time. I commuted. I had these really terrible, really long commutes. I think I do this because I want to, because it's fun.
What do you think is the most fun of all the modes of transportation to get around? Because I have my answer.
I would say like bike or scooter. Like honestly, scooter is it is really fun. I think that's why people do it. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, there's other reasons, but
Yeah.
it is. It's really fun. I maybe not. Maybe it's not for everyone, and I think it is like a little bit more dangerous than riding a bike. But like I've been downtown, and I have to take a scooter for like the last leg of my trip after taking the train, and it's just like it's that part of riding downtown on a scooter is like the best part of my day. I don't know what that means, but it's like this is the most fun that I had like my entire day. It's just getting around can be really fun. I think it's it's about the journey, not the destination.
Well, I mean, I love riding my bike around, and I think some of it's just being in the open air and just like feeling the wind against your face. And,
Oh,
like,
endorphins! Who knew?
yeah. It's the only. I mean, the only like way that riding a bike isn't fun is if someone in a car makes it miserable for you.
Yeah.
So it's just like I don't even feel like it's the bike. I've never had like road rage at another cyclist, And I will. This is really petty and stupid, but I do sometimes get annoyed at cyclists waving at me because I will wave back,
Why?
but because
Because it takes away from your. Oops.
no, I feel like it's like we don't have to like act like, hey, we're doing something crazy. Like, you know what? I don't know. I like that walking in New York, people don't wave to each other because it's so normal in like Manhattan, at least, that you'd go crazy if you were like, I need to say hi to everyone that I see walking to, you know what I mean? So it's like, if there were tons of people cycling out there, like when I lived in Iowa, drivers, you have to wave at everyone in a car that you see on a country road. And it's just like, the fact that we're like waving to each other, part of me just thinks like, oh, we're acknowledging that, like, oh my God, we're out here doing this, you and me, But it's like, oh, it should be so common that we're like, I don't have time to wave at every cyclist.
Do you wave at people in your one wheel?
So if I know them, we generally do. It's the one wheel community. We don't have as much solidarity as like the motorcyclists. So I used to, when I lived in the country, I drove a Vespa during all of the non-snow months in the middle of, the boonies on really fast roads. Bad idea. But when you're driving a motorcycle, there's the thing where you just like you drop fingers down at people where you're like, yeah, solidarity. It's like you're driving, hand goes off to the side, 2 fingers down, like, I see you. So the one wheel community, we're not as tight as like motorcyclists, but we will occasionally salute each other while we're going out and about. So and I think too, I'm an only child who is mainly socialized by cats. So I'm a little skittish, with new people in public.
You hiss at people on one wheels when they get too close. You might scratch
can only be
them.
one.
Yeah, right. So I am unlikely to initiate the what's up, but I will definitely respond with were it to happen. So
I mean, I'm being silly because I also feel like if you don't acknowledge someone on an elevator, it's super creepy. I hate it when people get on elevators and then don't say anything.
And they don't like make eye contact.
Yeah, and then they like step off and you're like, have a good nice day. Like, okay. Like, because it just feels so intimate. Like, we're in this small room. Let's acknowledge each other's humanity and that we're both here. Like, it's not like there's a big crowd of people coming and going.
Well, I think, one of the best things about, again, like public transportation is that you're like with people, but you're not with people.
Yeah.
You're around people and you can kind of absorb the vibes. But
Yeah.
you don't have to like interact.
But
you don't want to.
sometimes people, I mean, it doesn't happen that often, but it happens so infrequently, in fact, that I can remember like the last time it happened, it was years ago, that I remember where I was and just a guy kept talking to me, even though I'm reading a book and have AirPods in. And I'm like, talk to someone that's not reading. But he just wanted to chit chat. I was like, it won't surprise you that it was like a much older guy, and he's probably just, I talked to him. I wasn't like, excuse me, I'm trying to read. But yeah, it's not like on a Greyhound bus where you're like, oh my God, I can't escape. This person has decided that I'm going to be the one they talk to for this entire.
I've been exploring Greyhounds more recently. Earlier this year, I went up to, my friend is doing a documentary, and we went to, he's from PA, I'm from, here in LA. We met up to film with some of the band members in Chicago, and to get back, I was going on a trip to San Diego the next day, but the only way that I could get a flight fast enough from Chicago back to LA so I can get to San Diego the next day for a concert was I had to fly into Vegas and then get a 3 a.m. Greyhound from Vegas back to LA. And I didn't know that was an option, that it was a thing you could do, but it was. So I got off at the Strip and, walked the entire Strip to the Greyhound station. The last mile of it is absolutely barren. Interesting, though, with Vegas, where I think a lot of their roads and any of their long semi-highways, they all have sidewalks, which was very interesting. So it was, I was able to walk 2 miles from the end of the Strip to the Greyhound station, which is past the airport, on a lit sidewalk, despite there just being rocks, rubble, and a whole lot of nothing around. So that was certainly an interesting experience, taking that Greyhound. And I just had a work trip to Pennsylvania where I was helping some friends who were doing a startup, helping them out with some content. And I couldn't get any of my friends to take me back to Philly because one of them had a work trip themselves. Another one was working. So I had to take a Greyhound from Scranton to Philly. The Scranton to Philadelphia Greyhound was a very pleasant experience. The 3 a.m. Greyhound from Vegas to LA was not a very pleasant experience.
Because of the crowd? The
People,
3 a.m. Vegas?
Probably the 3 a.m. thing, but I think people were just everyone was arguing with each other for some reason, and the Pennsylvania people were just they were fine.
I'll share my last story if I can, because it's funny because it has to do with Vegas. And I've pointed out to people before that if you people that never take public transit, it's oh, so do you fly in private jets everywhere? And no, you fly with a company. Most people, I don't know anyone that flies everywhere in a private jet. So it's not exactly like public transit because you have to buy your tickets in advance and whatever, but it's kind of public transit because it's a bunch of strangers and you're all on a thing, and it's not always a pleasant experience either, but we do it. But I flew into Vegas once and had to change airlines to transfer, and my flight was delayed coming into Vegas, so I missed the one leaving. Neither company would help me out because they were well, it's not our problem that the other one already left. And they're well, it's not our problem that your plane got here late. So I slept on the seats in the terminal and got bitten in the eye by some bug, and it got all swollen up. And then someone tried to go on the tarmac at 3:30 in the morning. So the alarm just went off for 3 hours nonstop. So I was see, this isn't luxury traveling either. No one loves flying. That's not fun. It can't, parts of it can be, but sorry. I hate that airport ever since then. It's not the airport. Well, maybe it was. Maybe it's too spread out or something. I don't know.
So I guess maybe let's do a quick little roundtable of where we can find everyone online. If there are things that you want to plug, Maylin, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'm a freelance reporter, so you can probably find my work by Googling me. I write for Next City, which is an urbanism publication, if you're interested in that kind of thing. I write for some local publications here as well about transportation and infrastructure. So.
I'm on all the social media things too, but it's if you look me up, I always just tell everyone, just Google. There aren't too many Eric Brightwells. There's another one that I get alerts about his football career or something. There's an Othello champion, I believe, in the UK, and a guy that owns a pub in New Zealand. But you should read about all the Eric Brightwells, probably.
We should have a little meeting, a little get together.
We should have conference.
Conference.
The Eric Brightwell conference. Are you here for the Eric Brightwell?
There is the Gathering of the Kyles in Kyle, Texas, that happened last year.
It sounds fun.
Gathering of the Kyles. Oh my God.
I believe it's coming up in a month or so. I should, maybe think about going to Texas to gather with my fellow Kyles. And I guess me, I post trash photos to my Instagram as Kyle Rebarf, and I do some chill instrumental-y kind of stuff that is also Kyle Rebarf. That was my grade school nickname. The kids in the playground used to call me, so I reclaimed it. And as for this podcast, nobody drives in LA. I don't think we have an IG yet or any socials, but maybe by the time this launches, we will.
We'll have something.
All right.